Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. Welcome back, welcome to Salt and Sanctuary. Hopefully by now, by the time you're seeing this, the previous 3 episodes should have already been uploaded, because those 3 I recorded the entirety of the playthrough during the weekend. I believe the weekend of the 10th, and then I was just, not even that, probably Friday or Thursday before that, and then I decided to, I decided to do post commentary over the weekend and release the videos one at a time, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I believe. So this is a fresh batch of commentary, not done in one sitting. This is me on a new day, and this I think I recorded on the weekend. I'm not too sure. But what we'll be doing now is continuing on backtracking. I do wish this game had some sort of map system. I understand that most RPGs have great verticality and don't really require mapping systems as much, because you can use your environment and surroundings to check where exactly you are in relation to the world. But this doesn't apply to this particular game. It's 2D, and you can only really see like 20 steps in front of you. So knowing exactly where you are in relation to other places requires a lot of memorization of just linear pathing on a 2D scale, and I believe it would have benefited from a map. Even something simple, as simple as just a generic image with name placements, it would have been fine. But in this particular case, they opted for no map at all. And yeah, I don't know, I feel that hurt the game severely, because I would actually like to know where I am in relation to places I've been, so that I can give better commentary on location and placement, but I guess I'll have to wing it for now. Managed to get some revenge on the eyeball. Apparently that creature gives a buff, a shield, to any enemies nearby. Also picked up blessed weapon, temporarily bless a weapon with holy damage. Very interesting. Apparently it's used by paladins of all creeds, and they delve in this divine energy and they wield it onto their weapons, as you can read there. But apparently it's not something so easy. Not anyone can just do it. It requires some divine training and intervention. Blessed weapon. I don't know. I would have really loved to start off with some sorcery build or something to do with weapon buffs, but I guess I ended up going with something more simple, because the skill tree is it's a bit complicated. For now, I honestly don't know too much about the skill tree to know what's effective. Sure, you could experiment and just dabble here, dabble there, and still manage to finish the game, I would believe, but I would think that it's much more interesting to, or much more effective to, maximize on your stats and be good at a particular thing with your build, such that you don't have too many shortcomings. If you are, what do they call it, a jack of all trades, be a master of none. So in most of these RPG games, it's much more better to efficiently put your stats and have a purpose for your build. So in this particular case, this is a high strength, high endurance, high willpower. So hopefully by the end of the game, we will be carrying extremely heavy weapons which hit extremely hard, but they'll be slow. To compensate for this being slow, they will be, you'll be taking a lot of damage in between swings, so hopefully you'll be wearing some heavy armor. And that's my rationale. And if we can sneak in a weapon buff into the same build, I would be most likely happy. But if that's not possible, we'll have a lot of stained pages and flame buffs. Came to this particular location, I saw that crevice. It looked like you couldn't jump across. I haven't went back to investigate. I was like, what the hell's going on here? What the hell? And yeah, we just stood there for a while. I was debating. The ledge looks like you can drop down, but then I can't see where you can drop down to. Started throwing some throwing knives just to see maybe you can activate the thing in front of us there. Maybe jump to it if it's a ledge. But the knife seemed to go straight through, so it looks like just a design ornament to me. I was very unsure of what to do. So instead, we head back. I believe there will be quite a lot of backtracking. Oh, I'm not too sure. Makes me wish I knew what I did. I believe there's a lot of backtracking. Maybe some stuff wasn't even worth leaving in the main part of the video. I could have edited it out, but I guess you get to see how I got lost and my rationale behind what I did. You might get to see me die a few times as well. This is where we fought the Kraken Cyclops, I believe. And I think these tombstones that you can kill other players. Since we're playing online, technically, you get to see where other players died. You get to see other people's messages, of course. That comes with the benefits of playing online. I believe up there's also a ledge that we can't actually reach now, but hopefully with time we'll be able to do some things. Now that I think about it, I think it was what I recorded after this episode, which required a lot of backtracking, that I'll have to edit, because I feel that there was a lot of time wasted. But we found a sanctuary here. Actually, we've been here, but I decided to go backwards just in case. I was even unsure which vessel I would have liked to use to get this sanctuary, but then I forgot that I was now part of the northern creed, or the people from the north, whatever that creed is called. I keep on forgetting it. It was the Calabra of the three. So once the stone acorn belongs to the north, claim the sanctuary. What did I need in this particular one? Think I called upon a blacksmith? Guides, definitely. You know how I feel about stone guides. Put them in as many locations as you can. Probably if two sanctuaries are near together and there's a third tertiary sanctuary that is the main location, maybe you can just put a stone guide in one. But in this particular case, I believe that when there's great enough spacing between sanctuaries, definitely just throw in a stone guide. But I don't know if I'll regret it later. I don't know if they're limited or not. That's the main problem. I believe with 15,000 salt, we definitely had to level up. Head up to level 20 something, 24. Very decent. That's 7 black pearls. Now, in this particular case, I'd noticed that I'd left off some endurance. Some endurance locations weren't leveled up that are very close to strength locations that I already had, so more endurance the better. I believe endurance deals with your stamina bar. More stamina the better, because the heavier weapons we use, the more stamina we'll consume. And of course, the heavier armor we have, the more stamina we'll consume through rolling and possibly attacking. I'm not too sure, I haven't tested that. And since this game doesn't have a run mechanic, that's not a concern. Now, my particular notion at this point, I believe, was to go get the upgrade for sword class weapons 2 and 3, but that required going through class pikeman 1, which didn't really matter. We can use polearms if necessary, if we find good ones. So at least by leveling up, having to go to class sword 2, level 2, at least we pick up some polearm leveling up as well, including with our strength and stuff. Fortified strength, and then class 3 sword fighter. And that was the destination I'd wanted to go to because it allows us to one-hand class 2 great swords. So we could now start one-handing very big weapons. Probably one-hand the claymore, one-hand the warhammer, the great warhammer. It would have been really cool. Oh, actually we can one-hand the claymore, but then we can't one-hand the great warhammer, I believe. I think it's still classified as too big. I was checking out the scythe, the great scythe, I believe it's called the haymaker. Looked interesting, but then I realized it's a dexterity weapon, so not so interesting anymore. I wonder if quality builds in this game are viable, but with the amount of leveling up we're doing at such a slow rate, I don't know. In most games, at least in Souls game, level 21 is very low level. You can achieve level 21 very quickly in most of those games. But I believe that there should be more levels to this particular game than I'm thinking of. If so, maybe we could go quality build, put a lot in strength, maybe put more strength than dex, and then use dex hybrid weapons, similar to the great scythe, I believe, or any other weapon that's got maybe EE scaling, CC scaling, BB scaling, or maybe BC scaling, where the B or the higher stat is in strength and then the lower stat is in dex. We can then invest some things into that, but for now, just doing some housekeeping. Want some blades? Yes, we do. I've been forging steel in these trees since my 8th ring day. My father taught me the craft, as did his father before him. I'm just a regular forging outlaw. What sort of outlaw are you? Outlaws, a blacksmith. Weapons are still the same, sadly enough. Arming sword. Buckler, heater shield. Got an armor set here. I'm not sure if it was there in the past, but it is there. So I think I decided to upgrade my claymore to at least level 2. I believe that's what I can do with the resources I have, is upgrade weapons to level 2. I'm not too sure how the leveling up of weapon system works. When do you start using different upgrade materials to reach which levels, etc. I'm not too sure about that yet, still learning. But after doing that, I guess we can experiment with our buckler. I'm not too sure if I got in a lot of practice with it in this particular episode, but we picked up Link of Fire and Sky. What the hell is that? I don't know. Let's see if I can increase my preview screen before we get there. I think I didn't know what it was. Gives me a lot of time. Still checking out spells, armor, shields, weapons. Then rings, and I noticed fire and sky are powerful elements. Casting one over the other may affect the caster with dangerous element imbalance. Because of this danger, acolytes of the elemental magics are often given protection in the form of rings like this. Nullifies elemental imbalance. So I'm assuming because the main magics involve fire and lightning, if you upgrade one more than the other, you'll be inflicted by a status effect called elemental imbalance. What that status effect does, to be honest with you, I have no idea. I have no idea what elemental imbalance does, but I'm assuming it has to do with which spells you are using. If you're using more of the lightning spells, maybe over the fire spells, or something bad will happen. As they said, favoring sky over fire or fire over sky. And you have to have a balance of sorts. So if you don't have that balance, you'll be hit by elemental imbalance. which will result in a status effect. What that status effect does, I don't know. It could be as crazy as these archers who can jump across the whole screen, but it could just be something tame. I can still find these obelisks. Still can't use them though. Still gonna explore. See what the hell is going on here. Pick up this treasure to thy left. Hidden in the trees. Crystal sphere. Crystal spheres are very interesting items. A delicate sphere of polished crystal, it contains a cloud of playful sprites of some divine origin. Crash it in a sanctuary to convert that sanctuary to your creed. So there are some cases in which you find a sanctuary and maybe it's under Devourer's light and protection, but you're part of the Calabra of the three. When you use that sanctuary, you can't make an offering, you can't upgrade it, put blacksmiths and such. You can only just rest at it, and that's pretty much it. So when you want to use your other features, you can then crush this and change that sanctuary from Devourer's light, divine light and protection, to maybe the Calabra of the three. Something like that. I believe... Oh, I came here and I found just some barrels. Don't know if I found anything else. Yes, there was one item. There's a lot of these tunnels that seem interlinked. And there we got the light miracle. Instead of using torches, I'm assuming you can just use the light miracle, allowing you to two-hand your weapon if you don't meet the stat requirements. But one thing I noticed is that in those particular tunnels, most of them are very interlinked. Like if you use your camera, I'm assuming it's right analog stick on a controller, but for me it's the right, up, down, left, right, the actual analog as buttons. You are able to pan the camera, and if you look down sometimes, if you look up sometimes, you can actually get to see other places with other items, with other enemies, stuff that I've never actually seen before. I like how this particular area of the game is the areas are separate from each other, but they seem connected through the caves. The caves themselves may not be connected, but at least they hint at the fact that you are at this particular level in relation to the place you just came from. And in this particular case, I did some backtracking. Decided to head back here. What for? I went back to the sanctuary to rest. Decided to equip my buckler with my claymore. Long reaching weapon. I wonder what I was doing here. Now sometimes watching yourself, you're trying to figure out what was the thought process behind what exactly was going on. Not the thought process, but the thought the thought process. Let's see. Let's feed us more. Picking up some items. Then back here we find a back entrance using the green key that we obtained from the previous boss to head back to a location that we've been. Like I was saying, these tunnels seem to freaking connect to each other very well. Can see that sanctuary location. These ones, I believe you can't convert them to any creed. These are just intermediary sanctuaries for healing, connecting levels. Chain cuirass. Chain leggings reinforced with plates. Very good physical defense. We had seen this particular area from afar before, but we couldn't actually get here. But now, through that linked door, we were actually able to open the cage from the other side. but we were able to see that there was a high ledge that we couldn't reach before that, and now we found something. Pick up an item before we speak to the Jester. Greetings, friend, you've come to chatter. From where I sit, you seem to matter. Fork, spoon, knife, and a drowned man's wife. Okay. Where I come from is out. Down is up is down. Plate, cup, bowl, and a broken widow's soul. Would you like this rich perspective? Trust me, Lord, it's quite authentic. Elbow, jaw, knee, and a grave beneath the sea. Maybe. Fear not, then extend your hand. There's a great power in a brand, white searing hot, and an iron-forged thought. Gonna get branded. Vertical brand. Seek and find the hallowed stones. What comes next, I trust you'll know. Fade, fade, fade in the calm beneath the shade. Seek and find the hallowed stone. And that's the vertical brand. Every time we meet these obelisks that we've found, you're actually able to reverse gravity, you could say. And the Jester is actually just gone, just like that. Get the silver leaf. Oops. Trying to make this jump here, almost breaking my legs. Vertical brand. Interesting name. I like it. I like it. I like it. See if we can make it second time's the charm, right? Yep, made it. Pick this up, we get silver shield. Don't know if I equipped it. Oh, I couldn't actually use it. It's a class 2 buckler. So we need to level up our shield stats to the class 2 buckler location. Gonna need more black pearls, and we're gonna need to locate. You could see up there was a ledge we couldn't reach. Not much I did about that, I guess. I was just like, well, you can't reach it, can't reach it. Maybe it's a reverse location. Now this is another back entrance leading to the festering banquet, and we can actually meet up with our friend here. Hello, friend. Trinkets to sell. Trinkets for coin. Somehow. Back to him. He seems to have... One thing I noticed is that he's actually the person. He sells you locks of hair. Blacksmith. This is what you use to upgrade your weapons, which is very good. And I believe that's what we use to upgrade our weapons to level 2. He sells arrows and stained pages and torches. I bought one more torch. And interestingly enough, as soon as I buy these, you'll see that he's actually the merchant who sells you boss armor. So you can actually find the Doppelsonger's armor, or the, what you call it, the Sodden Knight. And some other armor, the milled, what? I don't know who could... Oh, that could be the armor of the Queen of Smiles. But then if that's the case, the Beggar's Breeches are... Because the first time we came he had Beggar's Breeches, which is what he's wearing. So it makes sense that he would sell the clothes off his back. I guess he's that desperate for money. But how he's found... Maybe, that's actually quite interesting. I guess you could infer that... Even though he's a beggar, he's selling things, he's looking for anything, trinkets to sell, trinkets for coin. He's also following you. Very interestingly enough, he's actually following you, picking up what you leave behind. So in this particular case, when you defeat a boss, you collect their soul, you walk away. But he's watching in the distance. He's actually interested in the trinkets. Trinkets to sell. Trinkets for coin. Trinkets for gold. That's all he's interested in. Now here I was trying to find a balance that would actually allow me to roll with the Sword and Knight's armor, because it's extremely heavy. At least heavy for me right now. But anyway, we have to get used to it. This is the destiny of this build, is to be as tanky and as hard hitting as possible. It's one of those, in a fight I should be able to walk in and maybe swing my weapon only 2 or 3 times, but those 2 or 3 times are going to be a chunk of the boss's health. At least that's what I hope. Gonna go full on strength, full on tank, maybe with a buckler shield down the side just in case we need to parry big riposts. Sunken keep. Okay. Gonna use the vertical brand here. It's I guess you could say it's aspects like this that oh, got a stone alchemist. We're gonna need that. Guess it's aspects of platforming, simple things like that. You're platforming normally, then they're like, hey, here's the vertical brand. Now you're upside down in some sections. Then you can use the vertical brand to just make the exact same areas that you've been to a little bit more interesting. That in itself puts replayability in levels that previously wasn't there. Like, this would just be one linear location, but then if you add the vertical brand, you can now mirror the stage and add more content to the same amount of space, which is it's a cool design. Too bad no 3D RPGs have implemented such platforming. If you know my history with Dark Souls, you will know that the jump mechanic in that game, I've hated it since the beginning, since its inception. The jump mechanic's been extremely bad ever since, but I do have to say that when the jump mechanic was implemented well, like there are certain aspects, or should I say certain points of the game, where you make cool jumps to pick up loot that was otherwise inaccessible, then the game was awesome. So now if they could build upon the jump mechanics and the platforming of such games, they could actually take it to greater heights. I feel that, for example, the Souls series and its development up until Bloodborne, I kind of consider Dark Souls 3 as the same amount of innovation as Bloodborne, as in Bloodborne is the difference, should I say. Building up onto Bloodborne, they'd been focusing a lot on the intricacies of combat and storytelling. Not so much storytelling, but as of lore design, like designing of the levels, designing of the characters, and then focusing a lot on the combat and the visuals. I love all of that, of course. The sweeter a game looks and the better it plays, that's all good for me. But one thing they kept on shying away from, and more so in Bloodborne, was the jump mechanic. The platforming, all that stuff, very underdeveloped. So I believe it's what makes the platforming in Salt and Sanctuary, for me personally, much more interesting. It's really fun to platform in this game, and when they throw in those bats, oh, much more interesting. Chainmail, Hauberk reinforced with plates. Mail is extremely expensive and time consuming to produce, but provides very good defense. Of course, the Sword and Knight's armor is much better, but the Sword and Knight's armor is actually like 9 points of weight more. So this will allow you to move much quicker until you can hit that point of willpower and endurance that will allow you to use the Sword and Knight's armor with much more effect. So for now, I guess we can play around with the two: Sword and Knight's armor, Hauberk armor, chainmail, and see what happens. One thing I noticed though when checking out the armors is that the blacksmith's gear has ridiculously high how can I say this? It has ridiculously high fire defense. So when they gave it to us, and then I believe they gave we will later pick up a ring that increases fire defense. So it's as if they're preparing you for some boss that uses fire attacks, or an area where you'll be taking a lot of fire damage. Still yet to be seen. That's all I'm saying. This post commentary is being done after recording quite a bit of gameplay, and let's just say fire is still yet to be seen. So I don't know why they're preparing you so early for a fire encounter when it doesn't seem like it will occur anytime soon. I don't know. Triggered the trap, got shot by a crossbow. Got shot by a crossbow. Boom. Boom. Chain coil. Is that chain coif? Coif. Either way, parts of the chain armor, the chainmail armor. Doesn't seem to have decent, like any different in terms of defense. In terms of the pointlets, not much of a change. But I don't know if there is a defense penalty. Oh, we got the infantry poleaxe. Didn't notice that I picked it up here. I'm not too sure if there's a defense, should I say, penalty. Because for example, in Dark Souls 1 and in Bloodborne, each piece of armor, I believe also in Dark Souls 2, each piece of armor had stats, of course: fire defense, lightning defense, defense to slashes, bludgeoning attacks, thrusting weapons, counter attacks, all that stuff. Each piece of armor did. But then the game calculated your overall armor and defense based on every piece of armor you were wearing. So in the event that you decided, okay, I don't need a helmet, or I don't need leggings, or I don't need gauntlets, you will be penalized in your defensive overall stats. So I'm not too sure if this is done in the same way in this game, and if so, that would mean that I'm taking a defensive penalty for not wearing a helmet, because the games want to promote you to fully protect yourself with a complete set of armor. You can balance out different armor pieces, that's fine. You can use multiple armor pieces in the same set, but you are supposed to have a complete set. So in that particular regard, I don't know. An iron round shield of the style carried by Mokdor's Grey Raiders, notorious hand of outlaws. The Grey Raiders rose to infamy after thwarting the repeated attempts of the Dorian military to stamp them out. But the group was finally eradicated by Ascarian mercenaries after the High Council branded them as enemies of the state, issued a warrant or bounties on their lives. Blessed silver shield, wooden shield. Common inexpensive shields of this type are a staple among would-be warriors, unable to afford later equipment, or better equipment actually. Lots of lore in these items. I wish I spent more time reading item descriptions while I was playing, but it's really difficult to know how much time you'll spend reading when doing post commentary, so sometimes it's better just to browse through. Now that I'm looking back at it though, I really like that Raiders headband. Should have worn it. I swear, if I can finish this game soon, with the different armor sets we've been going through, I really want to start playing Mountain Blade Warband. I got the game a while ago. During the summer sale, I got Mountain Blade Warband and Salt and Sanctuary. I've seen a lot about Warband over the past years. It's a very old game, very good game, or at least it's got a cult following, and Mountain Blade 2 looks extremely good, so I would really like to get into Warband before Mountain Blade 2 comes out. So at least I want to try play that when I'm done with Salt and Sanctuary. I knew that Mountain Blade Warband would be too long of a game to make a series of. Ah, one who fell from Devourer's bosom. There's hope though. Repent. Devourer always forgives. Oh, there's hope. So yeah, that was my reasoning. I was like, yeah, it would be nice to play Mount and Blade first, but it's a much longer game, hundreds and hundreds of hours worth of gameplay. And to be honest with you, it would be really tough to make a complete series about that. So, Salt and Sanctuary is extremely fun. It's much more new and can be completed. Though I may not make a comprehensive playthrough, it's a playthrough nonetheless. But anyway, I'll see you soon.